guest for Mike because he had another meeting that got changed from Thursday to Tuesday night. He would tell you that it's the WCID Upper Brushy Creek, but then on the side, which I know he'll tell you it's that damn board meeting. Because it's about all the dams that he helps take care of. But anyway, because of the election and stuff, things got switched around, so he apologizes for not being here. Did y'all notice the updates that are happening on the sidewalks? If it's happened on your street or not, it started on Mike's where they started. That means that they're coming pretty soon for the paving of the streets, so yay. We're going to get some new streets out of that. So then the silent crossings, no updates, he said, on that. I know I hear the horns. How many of you hear the horns? I know the buzzer, especially at night. So the other thing he wanted me, that he wants suggestions for topics for our meetings. If anybody has any suggestions, he would like suggestions, so I'm going to pass one out on either side. If you have any ideas of anything that you would think would be interesting to people of all ages in the neighborhood, that would be great. And last thing that we need to announce is that Don Yenny is going to be retiring, sort of, from his job. That he is going to not be doing all of the physical part of the job. He's going to stay as treasurer. So we are obviously still going to be needing help with signs and help me out here. I mean, he wears so many hats that I don't know who's going to replace him because we're going to need 3 or 4 to replace him.
4th of July National Night Out.
4th of July National Night Out. Oh yeah, the pet clinic. That's really important. So we need to be sure and get the word out. So this is the neighborhood activities. If you have any interest at all in signing up and volunteering, would you please put your name down? If everybody just does one thing, then hopefully it would. That's that. And that would be great. So then I'm going to introduce you to, how about you say your name?
Thank you.
There you go. Anyway, he's going to talk to us about parks and pop and play and forestry.
Yeah.
What's your name?
EMSUD. It's EMSUD. It's an old Texan name west of Amarillo. 12,000 miles west. So, I'm city forester. I've been here for 18 years. And I've been here quite a few times talking to your neighborhood over the years. And the reason being is because you have most of the trees. You're an old established neighborhood with lots of beautiful trees. Therefore, you would be my heavier customers in sending me emails and asking for assistance. But that's not the reason why I'm here tonight. So we're going to be talking about something else. And of course, I'll stick around. And it's any questions you have or concerns about trees, I can talk till you get tired of listening to me. My accent did not get any different in 18 years. So that's not going to happen. This is Katie Baker. She's Park Development Manager. And this is Finley. We did not decide what he's going to be in the future yet. But he's here with us. So what we asked Mike is if he would, being that we worked together over the years, I asked him if we can come to your neighborhood meeting and introduce the event that will be happening in the park. And he said, sure, be glad to help. And then next thing I know, he calls me and he said, the meeting is yours. So, with that in mind, we kind of brought a bunch of updates, and we'll take this opportunity to tell you and give you an update. What is the Parks and Recreation Department up to? What are we working on? Some of the bonds update, or how much bang for a buck you get for your tax money, right? But really, what we wanted to talk about mainly is the event that we're going to bring in park, a recreational opportunity called Pop-Up Playdate. And we're going to start with Round West Park because you're the biggest neighborhood with 1,400 homes or so. And so we'd like to start here with the recently redevelopment of the park. And what that is basically it's the activity to provide fun-free event with a focus on a healthier and more active lifestyle in the neighborhood park. So the activities that we plan to invite the family and the kids and have them hopefully park their smartphones and come and play in the park is we're going to have a tennis clinic where we're going to have sponsored by Jack Uslop. We'll have a professional teaching tennis. We'll have pedal boats that we're going to rent and bring so you can seat 4. We'll have several of those so you can pedal on your lake before the water gets too low, right? We had a beautiful sand volleyball there, so we're going to bring equipment and you can play on your own. We're going to have an MEU unit with games and music. We will invite our friends from other departments, so hopefully police, fire, library will come to talk about new library. Rock Active about fitness classes, and people in the parks are going to come to talk about outreach. We plan on having some free giveaways. So we'd have a tennis racket ball and rackets and balls with our sponsor from Academy, given to the first 30 children participants, one per household. So spread the word.
We might actually end up doing that as a drawing. Academy didn't sponsor us quite as well as we had originally hoped.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't need to
So jump in. We'll have a branded water bottle, an insulated lunch bag stuffed with healthy snack. And I believe Randall says they're going to be a sponsor of that.
I think we need some gift cards.
And we plan on grilling some hot dogs also in the park in case you get hungry. Since this activity going to be from 6 to 8 and it's on Saturday, June 16th. So it's kind of free fun for entire family. But we just hope that people would come and enjoy their parks. And again, that park was just recently upgraded majorly. So we'd like to kind of bring fun in the park and hopefully have a bunch of kids, a bunch of family come in and just join us, pedal, kickball, talk, listen to the music, and just visit.
Do you guys remember when we were young and we used to actually play outside and play in our parks? That doesn't happen anymore. And so we're rolling this program out. This is the first one, so we're hoping that we get a really good turnout for your park that we can use to promote all of the upcoming parks as well. That's part of the other reason why we chose your neighborhood. You guys are active. You don't sit in and be complacent in your homes. You guys get out and you spread the word. You petition for us. You help campaign for us. And so, it was a very deliberate reason why we chose Round Rock West, because you guys are so active. And so we really hope you guys are out there. We think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's really, the name of it is Pop-Up Play Day. It's really, let's just come out and have fun and play. Throw a football with a police officer. You're going to have our entire team there playing with you guys. So that's the goal. So if you wouldn't mind spreading the word, and we'll put out something probably via Neighborhood Joe and Neighborhood Katie to try to get the word out a little bit more as well. But yes.
Are you going to put any signs promoting it over here in the park?
We will.
There's a lot of people that go over there.
Yeah, so probably a week before the event, you'll see a yard sign go up in the park. We don't necessarily want to blast this out on our social media because we really want it to be for the neighborhood. If other people come, great, but we really want to target these to the neighborhoods. The goal is, we're kind of doing a sneaky attack, if you will. We're teaching people how to use their neighborhood park. We're giving them tools, the tennis rackets, the tennis balls, to partake in the activities that are in their park. So, that's part, so that hopefully they go out and be active after we leave. So that's the goal, so that we do, as Imsun said, get people out from behind the TV and the video games. So it's
Kind of a steps challenge, walking 10,000
Yes.
steps.
Yes, and we've also talked about having some of our Rock Active fitness instructors come out, and almost all of our neighborhood parks have some sort of a looping trail, teaching people how you do the trail, I don't know, maybe 5 times and it's a quarter mile, and if you want to, you can stop on the bench and do pull-ups or dips or something like that. So again, just trying to teach people how to be active in their neighborhood park.
Bring them out. And then, of course, our caravan will go to the other neighborhood parks. So we kind of will not invite the whole town to come and invade your park, but we'll start at your park, inviting your neighborhood to play, and then we'll go to the other parks and invite them to come and play with us in the park. And they have different amenities, so we might change the sports or activities with them.
Right, and the giveaways will be tailored to what the events and what the activities are in that particular park. Some we may give out mini basketball, some we may give out like helmets, depending on what they have in their park.
Finley, you have anything to add to this?
He's in front of his TV right now. Teach them young, right?
Questions?
Was that?
He's with me.
Yes, yes. No questions? about
Questions,
public later?
comments, concerns, suggestions?
All right.
Count on it.
Are you
Yes, sir.
aware of how many children live in the neighborhood? We've been here a long time, our children are grown and gone, and there's a lot of older citizens. I just don't think there's more than 2 or 3 kids on my block. I wonder if you'd surveyed that or something, do you know how many children?
I can't say that we specifically went to like the Census Bureau or anything like that. I think you guys typically get a pretty good turnout for your neighborhood night out, if I'm not mistaken, and so I think that was part of what.
Well, however many kids go to do.
That's what I was just thinking, that we, it fills Deepwood, so
Right.
there's bound to be enough kids.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's what I talked about, the steps, like geared for, more senior people.
Yeah, and yeah,
Bring the grandkids.
There you go. There you go. That's what I was thinking.
Have you handed out the brochures to the neighborhood schools?
we are planning on doing that. Yes. We're gonna, this is probably the only one we're gonna be able to do that with though. We're, I don't wanna misspeak, so I'm
Right
gonna
there.
steal Suits. So we're hitting you June 16th, so school's getting ready to get out. Then the next one's July 14th, August 18th, September 15th, October 20th. So some of that is in the summer where we don't necessarily have access to the schools, but when they are in session, we will definitely.
Well, I'm thinking about give it to them now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Kids, they can announce it to the kids.
Yeah, I can definitely talk to our marketing manager about that.
Well, this is just about Deepwood. I mean, this is so simple.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well,
But middle school kids may be interested too, so Chisholm, you know, this is still.
yes, sir.
So you made reference to where you want to try to keep it in this neighborhood and then go to different neighborhoods. But I'd just like to throw it out that some of us like to go to a different park than the one we go to weekly. So it'd be nice to get to know some of the other places where you could, okay, let's go over here.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely nothing stopping you. There will be a pop-up play day.
Chisholm Valley Park on
Yeah,
September
let's see if it's on the
15th.
flyer. Yeah, so if you look at the bottom of the flyer, it says roundrocktexas.gov/pop. That should have a full lineup. We're
Okay.
just not going to blast this out in our media waves like we would for a special event. I mean, we have special events for the neighborhood, their community at large, you know? We don't do very much neighborhood programming, and so I think that's what the initiative was with this. Doesn't mean you can't go to another party. So, we're not gonna check your ID and say, wrong
I just like to
neighborhood.
have
Yeah.
where they're going to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And we can tell you that tonight if you want. We're gonna go to Round Rock West on the 16th of June, Stella Park, which is on
July
Nancy
14th.
Drive. On July 14th, we're gonna go to Lake Creek Park, which is where the pool and the dog depot and all that is. I think, can't think of the name of that road. Chisholm Valley Park.
Park Drive,
Park Drive. There you go. Chisholm Valley Park on September 15th. That is
Right across the railroad
yeah,
track.
right across the railroad tracks. And then High Country Park, October 20th, and that's the one that is not too far from 45. It's
off the Getty
Flower
School
Drive.
Road, the Redbud.
Flower
and
Drive Road,
Flower
I
Hill.
believe it was called.
Right
But
now.
all that information will be on that website. Any other questions about the program? You guys want to hear some bond updates? What do you, I mean, really, what do you guys want to hear about? I'm the park development manager, so the direction of the director and the assistant director, I oversee all the construction and design of the parks. And since the forestry manager, that's obviously going to be our two strong suits, but if you have other questions, we can try to answer them. I just brought these boards in case you had questions about projects.
Cool. Trees. We have a lot of oak trees, live oak trees in this neighborhood. And he hears about it. I get nervous. about, planting a red oak or something, if something that affected oak trees
Mhm.
in my
Yeah.
yard.
Yeah.
I can't
So,
even imagine
Rondo-
what would
yeah.
happen with those 16 big trees.
So Round West is fortunate, it doesn't have oak wilt. So if you worry about concerns of the health of the trees, there's only one disease so far in this area that is deadly, and there's no cure for it. And there's a prevention or there's suppression. So basically, oak wilt is a fungus among us. So oak wilt disease is a fungus that attacks the vascular system of the oak trees. And basically, if you don't catch it in time and give an injection by the fungicide, most of the time they're not going to survive. They spread through the roots most commonly, or through the firewood, or the fresh cuts that are not painted with the
Which is
pruning paint.
why we don't. We don't.
Reason why we don't have, so
Certain times of the year, right?
yes, so you would prune in the winter months when it's sub-feeding, you do it. Beetles is least active, or in the heat summer months, so that these are the best time. Really the best is in the dormant season. So the reason why prior to my job here, I used to be oak wilt coordinator for south of the border, a city called Austin. And at that time has a 185 oak wilt center prior to me coming here. Round Oak so far in my 18 years here, and I survey them, and I do keep tab on them for a reason, and some of you might see me or my arborist coming and do free inspections. It's deliberate, because I want to know where the diseases are. And the only way that you're going to know is if you offer a free service. So Round Oak altogether has 6 to 8 oak wilt centers. Majority of them are centered at the Forest Creek neighborhood, and then you have some outside of the town on the Sambasa Road, there where the Brush Creek mud water plant is. It's all oak wilt center, kind of Welsh ranches. So in the Forest Creek area, we did some trenching and injection at the golf course that's owned by the city, and therefore we can. Some in a neighborhood yard, some people would treat them, some wouldn't. It's not epidemic in the Round Oak for a very simple reason, because this is not, it's not a big old city that has the streets lined up with live oaks. So when one tree gets it, it travels to the roots, 150 feet a year. So when one tree gets it, all tree gets it. What you get here is, even in Round Oak West, when I would come into your street, very rarely you have a live oak next to live oak next to live oak. In the beginning, when they build homes, lots of builders put Arizona ashes that since then died or are just about. Yeah, because neighborhood is old. But truly there is certain diversity, some by nature and some by nurture, by people planting different species.
So, and that concerns me because we have all.
Yeah, we don't have, there's never a documented case of oak wilt in Round Oak West.
Okay. And so
Never.
what, to create diversity, what would you plant? I mean,
So typically, yeah, there is so if you look at the same webpage, and I can come back and talk about that, but you basically, in this area, there's 6 species of oaks that grow very well. In a white oak family, if you plant a bur oak, or a Monterey or Mexican white oak, or if you plant chinkapin oak, they don't get oak wilt. All oaks are susceptible, but these don't. Mostly what you get is a live oak and a red oak, or Spanish red oak, or Schumann red oak that you're going to see here. Yeah, the white oaks don't get it. And so there is 60 to 80 species that grow in the area. Depends really on what space you have. The people have their preferences. The worst tree to plant is one that's on sale in Home Depot or any other place. It's a worst species of tree. So when I teach tree classes, I would usually start this backwards. I would ask the people if they would look at their piece of land and determine how big is the yard, how big is the space for a tree, what they have or don't have, and then what they're trying to accomplish. The shade, are they after a big shade tree? Do they want something that blooms? Would it be closed or underneath another tree, so therefore you would have to have understory trees such as red butter, mama laurels will bloom anywhere versus crepe myrtle or white tex. You have to have a full sun or it will never bloom or will have diseases. So it really depends of your yard, also depends of your soils or lack of. There's a reason why this town is called Round Rock. Try digging a hole and you will find really quick, right? It's not just that rock in a creek. And then if you go here, the west side, and I do live on this side of the town, is if you try to dig into your yard, well, even if you have gloves, you'll get blisters. Swing that pickaxe really good. The best thing is to find 3 gullible young men and pay them good money and tell them and they will come and give me a peace of mind at the end saying, oh, you do it.
Mexican flower.
It will grow here. I planted some in the Mesa Park, and they were growing beautifully, and we pruned them, and they were actually having fruits, and then the drunk driver plowed through all of them because they were planted along the road. So that was the only place that I can think of where we...
So they attract drunk drivers.
Since then, we put the bollards, but I lost trees.
So that would be a reasonable.
There is a list of the trees. I spent... So if you look at the roundrocktexas.gov under Parks and Rec, click on forestry. Or you can always find me and email me, and I'll email you more information than you'll ever need or want. Or if it's really specific, I will come to people's yard and offer them advice, or send, I have 3 certified arborists and stuff. Send one in particular, one to come and help out. I do have think of trees and tree diseases that you brought up. The diversity is the key to any diseases. Another way put in the nature world, the diseases are species specific. So on lots of those, if they attack the oaks, they will not attack the elms. It doesn't work that way. They're species specific, and oftentimes I kind of joke and I make the same reference to the people. Diversity of mind is the key of not going off the cliff, right? So whenever you have a various species, even if you have ice storms, and we've been blessed in recent years. When I came here in 2000, we were decimated by ice storms. And it was actually around the west neighborhood that had a few trees on the road where I would come to work with the chainsaws with the crew in the ice storms, and all of us would go home limping because every one of us would sooner or later fall chainsawing on ice. And it's been years since we said horrible, knock on wood, since we had horrible ice storm. But since then also we did lots of work along the roads eliminating the junk species, eliminating hackberries, chinaberries, and some other undesirables that would grow. So if they grow fast, they die fast, right? And it's kind of hard to think in that way, because when I talk to the homeowners, your neighborhood is established and lots of people live here a lifetime. I've been only quarter century in the US, and I've lived in a house here for 15 years. I'm a newcomer. The trees, the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago, right? So if you want a good tree, it has to be a couple of our lifetimes. If you plant the species that grow fast, they definitely will die fast. So therefore, the Bradford pear might be a nice tree, but it's going to be like an outback, that awesome blossom onion rings are going to split when it reaches age 15 or 20. You're going to have half a tree, a quarter of a tree, or soon no tree.
Even the cedar elms was split.
Yep, if they have included bark, if they're not pruned properly. Yeah, it's a pruning structure. Yeah, it's just having a proper structural pruning. So if you guys ever want me to come back, I'll be glad to. Mike can always find me, and I'll bring slides, and I will kind of talk about tree selection, tree planting, tree pruning. Or if you have a specific serious problem, I'll come look at it. And there's about 80 companies in Austin area. There's about a handful that I would let work in our parks or on my property. Lots of others are hardworking, well-meaning people, but they don't have any formal training or certification, and lots of times they could do more harm than good by actually working too hard to overprune your trees. Yes, sir.
I just want to say something you mentioned about coming out. I don't know, I just got in here a few minutes ago, I think. I want to say on behalf of him, my neighbor, she had mossballs. So I said it, and she said, I want my other neighbor to take it all off. And I went online and I looked and I sent him an email and he responded real quick. And so I appreciate it on chat, so by the way.
Yeah, didn't recognize it.
Yeah, so.
Different glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
anyway.
he sent one of his arborists out and looked all around, and I wish I would have done that before and saved her $2,000. But I'm sure these tree pruning places will come out and look and say, oh, we got to cut all this down. So let's check with him first.
I
Yeah,
had a question about that as well. Can you talk a little bit about the mossballs? And
yeah, I
explain
can
what
talk
they
about
do?
almost, yes. But I'm going to talk about, you also have to take into account that I have a luxury of I have ability to tell the truth because what I say is not billable. Another way to put it, my family will not be starving because I came to your house and I told you you don't need anything, therefore you don't need to pay me any money.
You don't have a dog in the hunt.
No. And so it's kind of like me explaining today on a seminar that we attended, crepe myrtle topic. So there's an anger going on, and I used to, when I was younger, I would write an article every January about please stop topping a crepe myrtle. It's a beautiful tree that grows up to 20, 30 feet, and then you pay somebody to come and hack it, and you have a little bush that's blooming. But think about this. When somebody comes and offer you, if they would do to the crepe myrtle what's really necessary, some crossing, rubbing branches, some of the water sprouts in Texas, we call them suckers, right? They really don't need to remove dead clusters. If they would only do that, they can't even charge you a hamburger, right? So that's $30 right there. $50 if they really work hard. You can fit in the back of a pickup truck for that tree. But boy, if they go and do this, that's a full truck up to the roof, right? Now we can bill you. So that's a billable tree. I have a luxury when I come to your house of telling you that you don't need a treatment. Well, I don't live off selling you anything. So therefore, that's in their defense, oftentimes they're trying to make a living. And oftentimes, a very good company doesn't have the time really to knock at your door. They barely can return your phone call if you're not a repetitive customer. So just kind of think about that. If you call certain companies that are really good at what they're doing, is they will tell you how long is their backlog, and they're not going to even have a time to get to you. What they're telling me recently, because of the labor shortage, they're behind 6 weeks on any major tree work. So if they're coming down, and they come on my door and knock all the time, and every week they leave me a door hanger that I need tree pruning. Trust me, I don't. But boy, they don't know where I live, so I get it just like anybody. So ball moss is a saprophyte, not a parasite. Mistletoe is a parasite that puts the root inside a host plant, being most commonly here is either elm or hackberry, and therefore forms the decay. Whereas the ball moss can grow just as well on electric wire, on telephone wire, or anything else. So it uses nitrogen from there. It's actually in a pineapple family. But they mostly, if you look into nature, you're going to see them growing in the dead limbs on the bottom and spreads by the wind. So here comes the wind and spreading them to the canopy. You see them on the dead branches in the bottom that are dead because they're shaded, and they also are not producing nothing. They're not doing photosynthesis, so trees will cut them off. They're not doing their job. So you would logically think, that's what killed my lower branches. They will spread throughout the canopy. The only harm that they will do, the most harm will be if they are on the end of your branches, or there's too many of them at the end of the branch where they shade the buds, and therefore you're not going to get the leaves and they will overwhelm the tree. So in that case, there is a possibility they will do the damage. It would take years and years for them to overtake the tree and actually shade it so much that it would kill it. Are they beneficial? No, but they're not a parasite. So to really kill them, it's difficult. You can remove them by hands and you're not going to kill that tree. The other would be is you can use the baking soda and of course spray them with that. It takes for a long time for Haustoria, the roots, that they kind of hug your branch to wilt from that and fall off. So in the first 6 months they're going to still sit there. The other is copper sulfate, which is blue, and you never want to spray that over your car, your driveway, etc. The problem is when you mix either the chemical or baking soda, none of us have that fancy rig that chemicals company do. And even when you have, when you buy the big sprayer, you don't have an agitator that will mix that, even the baking soda, at high concentration really fast and spray that. Plus, you really can't reach. I know because I tried. It's hard to get good pressure and reach to spray the tree as easily as their techs are doing. It's not really cheap to treat them either. So the best is if you catch it, if you remove the dead limbs, they're dead anyway, and you actually, it's beneficial to a tree. But on live one, try a combination of spraying and pulling some of that.
Pulling them off.
Yeah.
So when you go down Shoal Creek in Austin and you see those trees that are just literally covered almost, obviously dead, it's because they got shaded to death?
Yeah, the lower branches are dead because they're shaded. Think about that when you look at the live oaks, forget the urban area because nothing can survive the backhoe, right? And our lots are small and everything's needed for parking. But if you still step outside of city limits, you drive to some ranchland, when you see the open pasture live oak, it's 150 feet wide and has the branches that come down like this. Oftentimes they hit the ground or they're arching and coming up. All what they're doing is actually going after, there's geotropism, the weight, but really what they're going after is the sunlight. Whenever you look at the mock of a tree, which is a cluster of live oaks, you will see that on this side the tree doesn't have any branches, it's leaning or going to that side. It's basically just going after the sunlight. If you're not going after the sunlight, they have to die because they will not be able, yes, to do photosynthesis, and without that, they will not be able to live. So
that
therefore,
moss is not specific to live oak, it'll grow other.
there will be, you will see them on cedar elm. Most common here is in the live oak, but you will see them just as well being in the cedar elm. Not so much on other species.
And so I didn't know if it spread from the live oak to the crepe myrtle or what.
Yeah, well, they didn't spread. The wind carried the spores. So if you look at the colmos, when you take it off, you'll see at a certain time of the year they have a seed pods on top. So the wind blows and takes them off. So I just basically pick them up and throw them in the trash, not to have a new cycle.
How about mistletoe, is there a way to kill that? Same thing?
No, mistletoe is a true parasite. So there was a product on the market that we were hopeful that's kind of used to regulate growth, and I think in between, some of the fruit growing people and some of the vegetation management, electricity people, they use this product, they would spray it and it wouldn't grow fast. It's called Florel. And so we tried with that, it doesn't work. If you have a mistletoe on your tree, when you break it or you saw it off, so in the beginning there would be nothing, and then after that it just explodes right back. And the reason being it is because the root of the mistletoe plant is still inside of that branch, so it'll grow right back. Sometimes if you break that off or if you cut it off, you can use the pruning paint and paint black over that. It will stop that same photosynthesis, so it will not be able to, at least not that fast. Some people try to put aluminum foil, believe it or not, around the branch to stop the regrowth of the mistletoe. But there's really not 100% any product that I know in the market that you can buy in a bottle as we are used to, and you can just go and spray.
About bundles, and is there any, I trim on a regular basis, just, I don't do it big, but I'll put it in my trash can. Is that okay with that?
That's a perfect question for me. So, there's a brush recycling center that's closest to your neighborhood, right down there, which if you have a pickup truck, you can take it there with your water bill or driver's license. You're a taxpayer, right? So it comes with your taxes. If you're not a taxpayer, which is 100,000 people in 10 months now, they just have to pay a fee. So you can dispose it there. The Roundup Refuse will pick up something if it's smaller. It is really up to them, and they are kind of becoming a little bit more stingy, if you noticed, in a recent year, because we grew up to be a bigger city. They used to pick up anything you put in the curb. Now they count how many bags of leaves you have, how big is your brush pile, or anything
There's something on
else.
next door just recently, you put up 8 or something, big leaf bags or whatever. I put a big pile, I mean, it was 8 feet tall or so, and 10 feet wide, just recently, and then they charged me $25. I don't even know what the deal is, but it was
We do brush pickup, we contract that out to Roundup Refuse. It's cheaper really than hiring the crew and buying a cheaper truck and cheaper than we used to. So we contract with them since 2007 or 8, and basically it's $25 for the first 5 minutes. So if you prune your trees, you would put in the curb. It can be nowhere close to your Lexus. It cannot be close to your mailbox. We don't want to buy either one of those. It cannot be underneath another tree. What they bought is basically a big truck with a grub loader, a dump truck. It has a grub loader that swings, grabs the brush pile and puts it in the back of the trailer. And so that's how they are able to provide service that cheap.
And it doesn't have to be bagged up.
No, just a pile unobstructed. So there can't be any obstructions. They would grab that and just dust in the back. It's very convenient service. So that's the brush pickup for all the people who don't have pickup trucks, or basically don't want to take it to the brush recycling center, or honestly, if you have a big brush pile, I don't want to take 5 trips to the brush recycling center. I could, but just call and pay just like anybody else. It's cheaper, easier to have them pick it up and go make 5 trips there. You also get free mulch at the brush recycling center. It's hardwood mulch. It's a once dry, but it's not coarse. It's not chips. We don't, so we don't color. That's just like my hair. It's original. We don't color. We don't screen. We don't bag. We don't do anything fancy. We do sell that same mulch to one of the wholesale companies that does exactly that. They have screeners that cost lots of money, and they have a bagging machine. Screening means they just take bigger sticks or chips, so they shoot it through that screen for any bigger pieces. They do color it. I actually want to see that color. All mulch that you buy, no matter what the color, in 3-6 months, etc., will bleach and will become natural, right? And they bag it, which is very convenient. If you don't, you can't. Otherwise, with our mulch, you're going to have to wheelbarrow it to the target.
So they don't clean it out. I mean, I think about getting that mulch and the fungus and the bugs.
Another excellent question. So I get lots of questions about, can disease be spread with mulch? No, because I can't let you see that machine in action. But think about this. In a chainsaw, you have a teeth or a saw that you can see. In a chipper, it's kind of a drum or a disc, but it still has certain knives that grind the wood. In a top grinder that we used to have there, big red machine, and now we switched to horizontal grinder. It's not really a teeth that grind that into fine dust. It's actually, if you can think of it, they really beat that tree into a dust. It's a big giant drum with it's like a hammer mill. So the temperature is of that mulch when you go there is huge. So one, the hammer mill beats that to dust, and it's really hot. And if you touch that iron in summertime, we have to wait to cool over it for us. And also in that same summertime, think of mulch as an insulator. So one of the reasons why you would ever put mulch around your trees and plants is really to keep the moisture in the ground. That's the insulator against 100 degrees. So it is there to keep the weeds and the grass, but it's also an insulator that keeps the moisture in the ground to be around the tree and the plant. against the 100 degrees temperature. So in my humble opinion, I don't think a whole lot can survive in that mulch. It also self-ignites. So you would hear about fires in the mulch piles or brush piles because it cooks. So sometimes we have a charcoal on the bottom if it sits there for too long. So I think at least once or twice, if we have too much mulch, fire marshal would swing by and make us create the rows in between the mulch, because if it self-ignites, it cooks just like the compost does. So nothing will much survive there. Granted, you will have a wind blow in the weeds and the seeds, and occasionally you will see something growing on in a mulch, but it's not really because it was there originally. It blows in from the surrounding environment.
Because it's not bagged.
It's not bagged, yeah, that's right. That's right, bagging machine is not cheap. Someday I might.
You want to talk about the Hall of Abilities Park? People may not know about that, being on this side of town.
Sure. I actually have some pictures. I will maybe just pass it around because they're pretty small pictures. So we recently, we have the, ooh, sorry. Has anyone here not heard of the Play for All the Lilies Park? You guys haven't? Okay. So it's a park, it's off of A.W. Grimes Boulevard. If you're driving on A.W. Grimes and you see the train bridge, it's basically you turn right there. It's right next to it. The concept between the Play for All Abilities Park is to allow all children to play together regardless of ability. So we have everything with ramps or accessible for people in wheelchairs. We've also consulted therapists, teachers, parents of children with special needs to try to have something there for everyone. So we have a sensory pod, which is supposed to help people who have like some sort of sensory deficiency. We have a retreat pod, which is, you know, how some it's the opposite of a sensory deficiency. They want quiet and they want to be contained, and so we have a pod that kind of caters to that. We have an adventure pod. We have playscapes with ramps so that you can get to the top. We have swings. We have a wheelchair swing. We also have a village, which is sort of like a miniature safety village, which is where you can go and learn life skills. You can learn how to push the button and wait for the walk sign. You can figure out how curb ramps work and some stuff that you'll see in everyday life. So that was what we did. We opened that original part in 2012. It was so successful that we recently just had to expand it. It's not uncommon for us to go on any day during the school year and find 5 to 7 buses there. And not all of them are from Round Rock. Obviously, we've seen them from Waco. We've seen them from Bastrop. I mean, they come from all over. So we started redesigning an expansion in August of last year. We opened the expansion in November of this year. We added a new racetrack pod, so kids can go and ride their bike on the racetrack. We added a larger village. We added another accessible playscape. This one's in the shape of a train. Play off of the train tracks that are right there. We have a tree house that is accessible by ramps. We have a zip line now. We have a nature play area. We have an adventure hill. We basically doubled the size of it, and so far it's exceeding our expectations again. It's a really great park. We had a lot of partnerships. I mean, this is the type of project that a lot of people can get behind. The original construction cost $1.2 million for phase 1, and private donors paid for, I wasn't here, so I might be telling you a lie here, $400,000 of it, but I can tell you without a doubt that this expansion phase cost $1.9 million, and we had $600 worth of cash donations, plus about $600,000 of in-kind donations. We had engineers who were donating services, we had construction crews who were donating services. The train, for example, was sponsored by the Round Rock Express and the Nolan Ryan Foundation. Niall Maxwell came and sponsored the racetrack pod. So I mean, it really is a community effort, and it's pretty great what can happen when we all have the same goal. So, yes, ma'am.
That is the most requested place to go by our grandsons.
It's a great place.
That's the first thing they want to do.
His as well.
It's fantastic, and 2 hours, and they don't want to.
I know, he throws a fit every time. And he was the first person to drive the racetrack before we even had any of the safety barriers up. He called it the builder site. He loves it. He loves it.
The only request I have is that entrance, that odd entrance there.
If you could hook us up with the railroad commission,
You went back the other time, it's always hard to get there, especially here.
Yeah, you have to get the
Front end
answer.
side.
I agree. It's especially difficult because of the low water crossing, which is why it's even more crazy.
yeah.
We had to go under the railroad, and it just created a bunch of problems. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So did you expand the parking?
We did expand parking, we added another parking lot in the front. One of our biggest pet peeves with the original design is that when you came in, you drove on the main entry road right next to the entry. We didn't have any real options the first phase because we didn't own any of the property to the north. We bought 13 acres to the north, so now the road comes in and it kind of follows the railroad track. And then actually, I have it, hold on. It's right here. So it used to come in straight like this. So now it comes up, we added this parking, you can see the racetrack and all of this.
So how much more parking did that add?
Approximately 80, 75 to 80 spots.
Is it ever full, overfull?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, the grand opening day was probably the worst I've seen it. This was full, that was full, people were parked up here, there's a small little road that will take you up to Walgreens, I believe. That way. Yeah, CVS, people were parked up that road.
That's a private driveway.
It is, well,
No, it is. It's a private driveway. Yeah, it was a problem.
so, yeah.
Yeah, on the weekend, you'll see everybody kind of clustering up here in this area, saying, oh yeah, we need more parking.
Yeah, so we now own all this, there is plans for phase 3 eventually. It's more of a, right now in our mind, I mean, it's literally nothing on paper, but in our mind, it's, have you guys ever seen the Miracle Fields? It's like a accessible softball field. It's like made out of playground surfacing. So that's kind of what we have in our mind, but that could always change.
We played in this many Saturdays.
It's very exciting.
Man. What else? You interested in trails?
Oh, so are they going to connect, they talked about some kind of a trail that would connect from Round Rock West Park to somewhere.
So the Centennial Plaza, that's
That is
actually,
so nice.
that's actually this project right here. So, hold on, let me get my bearings here. Yeah, this is Round Rock West Park right down here. That's right, I just put it here. So basically right where the creek is, there's that office complex. We'd be coming in right there. There's a bike lane. And then following the creek all the way to Centennial Plaza, we'll have to cross the creek. We're talking about crossing it right here. We'd go under I-35, we'd go under the UP, the railroad. The timing on this has somewhat been delayed. There's actually the entire length to 35 of where we're starting to 35. We're on top of a wastewater line. And they are actually planning to upgrade that wastewater line in, I think, year 2024. So we talked with them, we were like, hey, you know, we want to move on this, so they've moved their project up. So they're currently under design, so that we can try to do these in conjunction, so we're not tearing up a brand new trail.
So where's 620?
620.
Top of the thing, top, very top, can't see it.
Yeah, you can't see it. This is Chisholm Trail Road right
See
here.
where her thumb is right there,
Okay,
that thumb, her left
Yeah.
thumb, just push your thumb back where you're at. Push the other thumb, the other thumb, sorry. Your other thumb.
I don't know
Right
where
there,
it is.
left thumb, yeah, it's right there. See that white square?
Yes.
That right
That's
there.
Sprouts. I
That's
believe.
Sprouts.
Yeah. That is
So would there
Sprouts.
be a way,
Okay. cross,
So it'd be like,
620, I'm kind of standing on 620.
yeah. Because that's how we cross I-35, is over there.
We are in this original phase, we're at least planning for, we are not going to be able to construct, but a bridge section that will cross over here to connect eventually to Brushy Creek Trail as well. So, we're not going to be able to afford to build that right now, but we are planning for it for future phases.
Will you be able to get to Sprouts and Starbucks over there? Because it's a real low
Yeah,
area.
you
It's
would,
dry.
you would have to, yeah, I mean, it would be kind of a choose your own adventure type deal. We're not gonna
No
cross the
bridge or
creek
anything?
here or anything.
No bridge.
The only place we're doing a bridge is over here to Centennial. We'll be on the other side of Lake Creek at that.
We used to live on the east side of east of Village Park. We go through the woods, we wanted to, and then they put a trail, basically what they wanted. That was so cool, but then we moved over here, and I was like,
Right.
where's the trails?
Right, this has always been one of our highest priorities because there's nothing really on the west side, especially the south part of the west side, south of Brushy Creek.
Here.
Yeah, so, I mean, this has always been a high priority for us, so, I mean, this right here makes it impossible to get anywhere. So,
Well, then this will make downtown accessible.
exactly, exactly. Once you get to Centennial Plaza, you can get pretty much anywhere to downtown.
so someday,
All right. Someday we'll have them.
so my dream is one day I get up, hop on a bike and go to work on a bike. Just one.
Awesome.
Right now you can't because you have to cross IH-35 and that's, I'm brave. I bike.
It should be priority, getting across I-35.
But when trail comes, then, you know, east to west, then you will literally, really be able to.
Well, you can
go
to
the
like
Heritage
route
Trail.
now.
Right, and actually with Heritage Trail and
Okay.
Brushy Creek Trail, we're working to fill our gaps. We're going to eventually connect to the county's portion. The county is working on a portion to bring where it ends at, is that Wyoming Springs where it ends?
Yeah, where Harryman Road is
Yeah.
coming down.
They're
Harryman
working on
Road,
bringing
where
it to the
stops.
Round Rock, and then we're picking it up at the Round Rock, and we're taking it all the way to Red Bud. So
And that's the one on.
we're close. We're
Toward the
close
middle.
with our part.
So what kind of time frame would that be on?
I mean, we're kind of old, so we're.
It'll be in our lifetime.
Most of it will be for sure. So our portion is broken into, of Brushy Creek is broken into 3 sections. Section 1 is what we're calling Heritage Trail West, and it goes from basically Chisholm Trail Road to Maze Street. That is actually permitting right now. So we're working on getting, it's over the aquifer, so TCEQ approval. Our floodplain administrator, there was some talk that we might have to go through FEMA. I don't think we're gonna have to do that now, it's just because that's a long process. So that's good news. So that's in permitting now. Section 2 will go from Maze Street to Georgetown Street. We have a property holder. Our property, it'll be on the north side of Brushy Creek. So we have one property that we don't have any sort of agreement, we can't get on their property to even survey or anything like that, so until. What's that? Yeah, maybe that. So that's kind of up in the air, we know where we want to go, but that one's going to be on hold until we get some resolution there. The final section will be from Georgetown Street to A.W. Grimes. That one is also in permitting, and we are really close to getting out of permitting, so hopefully that goes under construction starting this summer. And we have all of the other sections built up to Red Bud, so once we make those 3 critical connections, we're basically from Williamson County to us. Williamson County, yeah, Williamson County is working on their section as well. They also have a property owner, they have 2 property owners that are kind of holdouts. So right now they're going to stop. So there's going to be a gap from Wyoming Springs to about, I don't know the name of the road, but kind of, there'll be a gap about that large. Maybe a half-mile gap until they can reach some resolution with their property owner, so.
Okay, any other questions? You've been great.
So much fun.
You're coming to the park, come to play with us.
Yes, absolutely. Remember, call or email if you have questions about the tree. I know I'm gonna call you.
Yeah,
I've got some that need trimming, so.
Be glad to help.
Putting that tip up there, so. We really don't have any other business other than, I don't know where my volunteer sheets went, and please pass the word around to your neighbors and anybody, because we can't do these events if we don't have volunteers, so. He's been carrying it for a long time, and it's time for new people to step up, so we appreciate that. So I'll go ahead and we'll close the meeting and